Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today, presented by Caesars Sportsbook and Casino. They have a fun game where you can pick the best player to lead the NFL in passing yards, rushing yards, and receiving yards. And here are the expected leaders, the favorites. Patrick Mahomes in the passing yards department, Derrick Henry in the rushing yards department, Cooper Kupp in receiving yards. And to break it down for us here on Fantasy Football Today, it's our buddy, best in the business, Emory Hunt, who's been on fire so far to start this season. I'm sure he's going to be on fire as well in week number 3. So, Emory, let's start with the player expected to lead, the quarterback expected to lead the NFL in passing yards for week number 3. Who's your pick for this week?
You know, I always love this segment, Jamie, because it is really mind-boggling how sometimes the favorite will end up 6th in this list or 7th. So I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson versus the New England Patriots. I think he has the most passing yards today. I like his ability to throw the football deep down the field. It seems like he and Rashad Bateman has really found that rhythm, and we're going to start to see them connect more so with other options. We saw Duvernay in week 1. We saw Bateman's opportunity in week 2, and I think we'll see someone new in week 3. But all 3 guys, I feel like, will have huge days catching the football. It's hard to find disrespectful Lamar Jackson props now, too. Back 2 years ago, it used to be, can he complete a pass? Plus +05, you know what I'm saying? So now I think we're talking about him how we should be talking about him. I think he leads the league today in passing yards.
Yep, trying to earn that money. I'm sure he's going to get that big contract soon. That would be nice, but has some nice weapons developing so far. Mark Andrews obviously having that big game last week also, so it should be fun to see Lamar Jackson against that Patriots defense. Let's talk about the leader in receiving yards. Speaking about some defenses for the Ravens that didn't show up last week, the Dolphins took advantage of it. There's some fun names on this list, though. Here you got Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and A.J. Brown as the leaders here, but you're going off the board. Who is your favorite for this week?
I'm going with Tyreek Hill, man. When you think about the passing game that we saw last weekend against Ravens, and it's not essentially based off what we saw last week. That was a lot of busted coverages, but more so the matchup today. Buffalo's going to be without Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde. They're going to be playing Benford out there, the rookie, and maybe even starting the other rookie without Dane Jackson and Kyer Elam, who I really like. So there's going to be a lot of youth and inexperience in that secondary. To me, that sounds like a lot of deep shots being dialed up. Plus, when you have new guys in the secondary, you lack the communication skills that veteran groups that have played together tend to have. So I expect a lot of those same things we saw last weekend, some busted voids in zone, some missed opportunities in man. And, oh, by the way, Tyreek Hill is a fantastic receiver. So I think he leads the league today in that category.
Love that call. Should be a fun game for the Dolphins. Should be a fun game between the Dolphins and the Bills. And Jalen Waddle obviously has some big opportunities as well. Let's talk about the rush leader for this week. And a lot of big names at running back that have been disappointments so far. Which is the running back you think that will lead the NFL in rushing for week 3?
I'm going to go chalk here. I'm going to go with Derrick Henry because they have to. I think they have to lean in on what makes them the Tennessee Titans. That's their run game. I think they're going to really try to pound this football against this Raiders defensive front seven, see if they can stop the run. Because completely honest, I feel like Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, and Kirk Cousins, and this is not a slight, I feel like all 3 guys are the same player at different degrees of playing the position, but I don't feel like you should be worse than those guys. I think they are what you expect NFL average to be, which is solid. I think they are solid, but in this case, I feel like Derrick Henry really has to get going, and what a great way to start him today against this Raiders front seven.
It's interesting that he's a chalk play because he's been so bad so far through the first 2 weeks. Down Taylor Lewan now, so hopefully this is a big week for him. Fantasy manager certainly looking forward to see what Derrick Henry can do. All right, Emily, let's talk about your best bets for this week, and a lot of interesting games on the slate. So give me your first best bet for this matchup.
My first best bet, I'm going to the NFC North. The Lions are +6 versus Minnesota. The first 2 games, the Lions defensive front has been a terror for the Eagles to block. They were a terror last week for Washington to block, and they'll be a problem for Minnesota up front as well. And on offense, they can run the football. They lean in on who they are from an identity perspective, and their passing game is starting to click. So they're playing much better football on both sides than are the Minnesota Vikings. And I think they make a statement today and knock out the Vikings. So I do like the Lions straight up, but definitely +6.
Should be a fun game there. No Harrison Smith for Minnesota, so should be good for that Lions offense as well. Second best bet you're looking at for week 3.
Listen, Justin Herbert, pay attention, look into the camera, and pay attention to what I'm about to say. Don't do it. Don't do it. Sit this one out. And because he's banged up going into this game against another very young, athletic, and active front seven in Jacksonville, I like the Jags +3. This line started at Chargers -7 to -7.5 earlier in the week. And as news started to come out that Justin Herbert may or may not play, and he didn't practice one day this week, and now he has to depend on the same doctor that tried to end Tyrod Taylor's football career last year to give him the same injection. Now we see this line at +3. I think the Jags can take this one here because of that element. So I'm liking the Jags here +3.
Likes the Jags in the number, likes the Lions in the number there against Minnesota. We like Emory when he's on the show here because he helps you win money. Emory, thanks so much for being with us here on Fantasy Football Today. Let's recap his picks here. The passing yards leader for this week for the game you can play on Caesars Sportsbook is Lamar Jackson, according to Emory, at +5,000. The receiving yards leader, Tyreek Hill, +1,600. The rush yards leader is taking the chalk, but is Derrick Henry really the chalk anymore? He is, according to Caesars. We'll see if he delivers for fantasy managers as well. That's a +500. And his two best bets, the Lions +6, the Jaguars +3. Emory helping you win money here on Fantasy Football Today. Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today, presented by Caesars Sportsbook and Casino. Fun slate of games coming up later today. It should have a lot of fantasy implications and ways for you to make some money. Jaguars, Chargers should be exciting. Packers, Bucks. It feels like these two quarterbacks, it's like the old-timers game at the All-Star weekend. Hopefully we get some good production out of the receivers there. Rams and Cardinals should be an interesting one there. Falcons and Seahawks as well. Looking forward to watching all these games. Looking forward to making some money off of all these games. And to help you do that, it's our buddy Emory Hunt back here again on Fantasy Football Today. So Emory got the Jaguars at the Chargers. Is there a prop here that you like between these two teams?
You know, it's funny. Everyone talks about the Chargers and talk about the pass rush. You know, Khalil Mack this, Joey Bosa that, you know, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, the Bosa brothers, pass rush, all that stuff like that. But best way to beat pass rush is to either screen them up or run a lot of draw plays and influence plays. I think we'll see a lot of draw plays or influence plays and also screens coming from this Jaguars offense. So with that being a backdrop, Travis Etienne going over 2.5 receptions. I think he's going to have a big day catching the football. That's how you calm the pass rush of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Got to get this kid going, and James Robinson's been off to a great start so far, but this could be an interesting week for Travis Etienne just to see how he does, like you said, to offset that pass rush, obviously giving Trevor Lawrence another weapon in the passing game. I like that call very, very much. Let's talk about the Packers and the Bucks here. What's the player prop for you in this game?
The Packers have to realize you can do the same things the Detroit Lions can do to any defense. They quietly have number one running backs in Aaron Jones and also Dillon, but also their offensive line gets a lot of flack from Packer faithful and Packer fans and Packer media. The best way to help out an offensive line that's struggling right now, run the football, and I think they can do that. So with that being said, Aaron Jones over 12.5 carries today. I think they're going to try to shrink this ball game, try to calm that pass rush. That's another way to calm a pass rush from a ferocious defensive front seven is running the football right at them, turning them into run defenders. I think we'll see the Packers try that approach today. So I like Aaron Jones going over 12.5 carries.
Like that, it's juice in our favor too, a +100. So Aaron Jones should be the catalyst of this Packers offense, given the situation at the receiving core there for Green Bay. Let's talk about the Falcons and the Seahawks. Should be a fun game between these two teams from a fantasy perspective. Which prop do you like in this matchup?
I like DK Metcalf going over 5.5 receptions. I feel like he is someone that they're going to target because he's a dynamic talent at the receiver position. Plus, he's a veteran. He's going to be facing a younger player in A.J. Terrell. I love Terrell as a prospect. I love him as a player, growing in the right direction for Atlanta. I think even though he's talented, he's still young. Expect Geno Smith to target him early and often in this game. So I do like that prop going over for Metcalf.
He's due, and we saw Tyler Lockett have a big game with Geno Smith last week. Hopefully this is the week for DK Metcalf. Looking forward to seeing this Rams and Cardinals game, Emory. I'm sure you are as well. Which prop are you looking at in this one?
It's all about the passing game in this one. I feel like we're going to see both Stafford and Kyler Murray throw the football around the yard. Neither one can really run the football very well or efficiently. So I think we'll see them just air it out today. And because of that, I like Greg Dortch going over 3.5 receptions in this game. He had 4 targets last week, 4 receptions. He had 9 targets, I believe, in week 1 with 7 receptions. So I feel like he can get 4. With the amount of times I think they're going to throw the football today, I think 3.5 going over that number is an easy bet.
He's been great without Rondale Moore there, and we know that Kyler Murray, hopefully, according to Cliff Kingsbury, is going to play a little bit more up-tempo, a little bit more frenetic, like he does at the end of games. Man, that play at the end of the Raiders game was so much fun. Hopefully he's looking for Greg Dortch with one of those targets this week, or a lot of targets this week, to hit this player prop. I love this call. And fantasy managers looking for a desperation play. Greg Dortch without Rondale Moore in there is certainly a great call. Emory, you're the best. Thanks for being with us here as always on Fantasy Football Today. Let's recap his props for this week. You like the over for ETN with the receptions at 2.5, the over for the rush attempts for Aaron Jones at 12.5, DK Metcalf over 5.5 receptions, and Greg Dortch over the 3.5 catches as well. We love overs for fantasy purposes, and Emory's going to deliver like he always does. So look for these players to put in your lineup.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.